This week, we are focusing on the 1989 dark comedy, Heather.
Does it not bother you that everybody in this school thinks that you're a piranha? Like, I give it.
And it stars Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, Shannon Doherty, Leanne Falk, Kim Walker, and Penelope Milford. A huge stacked cast. And it's about 4 teenage girls, 3 of whom are named Heather.
You a Heather?
They click at an Ohio school, and one of whom, Winona Ryder's character's, life is disrupted at the arrival of a misanthrope intent on murdering the popular students and staging their deaths as suicides. This movie aged interestingly. It would not be made today.
No. So when Heathers was initially released in March of 1989, it was considered kind of a big flop. So it earned less than $200,000. Even I know that's not a lot in its opening weekend, and ultimately grossed only $1.1 million in the United States over 5 weeks. Just not great. So New World Video released Heathers on VHS, and then that is where it developed its cult following. So it's definitely the fans that are giving this movie a lot of its love.
You know, it's so, mysterious.
The cool thing about it is that when Walters created this movie, he created a very specific style of slang and speech for this film because he wanted to ensure that the language would have like a timeless quality instead of it just reflecting the year that it was made. And that's why you're still hearing to this day, "What's your damage, Heather?"
What is your damage, Heather?
So for Veronica, Jennifer Connelly and Justine Bateman turned down the role of Veronica, but 15-year-old Winona Ryder, she really wanted the role.
I think originally they had another actress in mind.
What?
I got Dan Waters and Michael Lehman's phone numbers, and I literally started stalking them.
However, Waters told Entertainment Weekly in an interview he didn't think Winona Ryder was pretty enough for this role. Boo.
Boo.
And Winona Ryder, somewhat agreed. She was like, listen, I looked like my character in Beetlejuice. I was, very pale, blah, blah, blah. And so she went to the Macy's at the Beverly Center and had them do a full makeover on her. And then, she got cast. Winona Ryder's agent really did not want her to take that movie.
I remember a specific incident that will stay with me forever where my agent at the time, who I left shortly after this happened, got down on her hands and knees and begged me not to do Heathers. She said that it would ruin my career and I would never work again.
Brad Pitt auditioned for the role of JD, but he was rejected because he was considered too nice. Which, you know what, that totally tracks. Brad Pitt would then later on star with Christian Slater in Interview with the Vampire. It's also said that Jim Carrey, Judd Nelson, Johnny Depp, and Jason Bateman were all considered for the role of JD, but you know what? It was Christian's role, and he did such a fun job with it.
I'm a no-rust build-up man myself.
Christian Slater is so hot in this movie. It is absurd.
I didn't know if it was just me. I'm like, oh.
No. And I always forget it's him because he looks very different now. He's still like a fox of a man.
Fox. When she's walking by in the cafeteria and she sees him, I'm like, same girl.
God, Veronica, drool much?
The role of Heather McNamara was originally offered to a 17-year-old Heather Graham, but Heather Graham's parents forbid her to be in the movie. They said, no way.
No way. Let's talk about Heather Duke. Shannon Doherty landed the role, and there was no one really else that was in contention for this role, but here's a fun little fact for you, Ash. Tori Spelling saw Shannon Doherty in this role, and then she actually recommended that her dad, Aaron Spelling, then cast Shannon in the little-known TV show Beverly Hills 90210. Heathers. Such an iconic title of a movie, but why is it called Heathers? Well, Waters came up with the movie's title before he even wrote the script. And he said it was because in the 80s, quote, Heather was the name for that girl.
Another Heather.
The name Heather is said 90 times throughout the film.
Heather to Heather.
Grow up, Heather. What are you gonna do, Heather?
Guess who? Heather?
Christian Slater has said many times that his entire inspiration for his character was Jack Nicholson. And he has said that he is basically doing a Jack Nicholson impression the entire movie.
What are you talking about, huh? I mean, today was great. Chaos is great. Chaos is what killed the dinosaurs, darling. In Heathers, I did a little of this Jack Nicholson thing, you see, where like he was in Witches of Eastwick, you know? where I lost my mind, basically. And I still kind of kept the voice a little for personal choice.
Very dark fact, but like there's a few of these throughout this movie that are very kind of like interesting, so we're going to mention it. So one of the most famous lines in the movie was from Kim Walker as Heather Chandler, and she asks Shannon Doherty's Heather Duke, she says,
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
and tragically, ironically, I guess, Walker, she passed away 12 years later at the age of 32 from a brain tumor.
Dark.
Tell me the similarity is not incredible.
Ash, did you know that there was an alternate ending for this movie? Quite a few, in fact. But the one that they really wanted to do was that in the original version of the script, JD successfully blew up Westerberg High. And the scene features like a surreal heavenly prom scene, and all the students are dead and they're at their prom and they're all in white. But the executives and all the producers absolutely hated that ending, and they made them change it at the very end. And here's what's fun about it is that in the Heathers TV show, remember we heard the rumblings of a reboot, and they made an entire season of TV of the Heathers reboot. That was the ending that they were having at the end of their season 1. But you know what? Not a lot of people knew that, because the show itself, it was going to be coming out on Paramount Network. It kept getting postponed because there were real life school shootings, and it wasn't coming out at an appropriate time at all. So it kept getting postponed, and then it was quietly released, and then no one talked about it.
It's ironic, Heather.
We're not doing irony anymore. Keep up.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Stream Queens, but I'm very curious to know if you will be taking a look at Mayor of Easttown. Tweet us your thoughts.
That's right. Use that hashtag StreamQueens. And I want to know if you're going to be watching The Circle this season. And if you are, shameless plug, I'm going to be doing lots of interviews with the cast throughout the season. So let us know. Use that hashtag StreamQueens, and we'll see you all next week.